It's the middle of the night and you're lying in bed staring up at the ceiling, wishing you could fall asleep because you've got to get up in a few hours. Should you check to see what time it is? How about starting to count sheep? Maybe you should read a book. Should you continue to lie there worrying that you're going to be feeling tired tomorrow? Or all of the above? Hey friends, my name's Aaron. I'm a nutrition and behavior change coach, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you why it's completely normal to be waking up during the night, as well as some things you definitely shouldn't do and what you should do instead if you find yourself lying awake at night. If, like me, you've ever tracked your sleep, you may notice trends across each night of periods of being asleep and then also periods of being awake. These graphs are known as hypnograms, which is essentially a chart just showing you the time spent in each part of sleep. And this can be tracked from a simple sleep tracker. For the purposes of this video, I won't be going into too much detail about the best kinds of sleep trackers or different ones. However, I have been using a free app for the last 3 to 4 years to track the basics of my sleep each night. It's called Sleep Cycle, and they have a free version as well as a paid version. According to neurologist and sleep specialist Brandon Peters, MD, waking up during the night is totally normal. However, that doesn't mean you should be waking up and staying awake or struggling to fall back to sleep. And we'll address that in a moment. However, these periods of going from awake to asleep to awake to asleep again are known as sleep cycles. And a typical sleep cycle can last anywhere from 90 to 120 minutes. This includes the time taken to fall from light sleep into much deeper stages of sleep. So there are 4 stages of sleep that we go through each night. Firstly, there's stage 1 or non-REM 1, and this lasts 1 to 5 minutes. This is typically the dozing off stage where everything starts to slow down. It's also very easy to wake someone in this stage of sleep. However, if they're left longer, they will then go into deeper stages of sleep. The next stage of sleep is stage 2 or non-REM 2, which lasts for about 10 to 60 minutes. Here, your body and brain move into a more relaxed state. Your muscles begin to relax, your breathing starts to slow, as does your heart rate. From there, we move into the next stage, which is stage 3. This is deep sleep, and this is harder to typically wake someone from. The muscles, heart rate, and breathing rate have all slowed down, relaxing the person even further. What's really interesting to note is this stage is typically longer in the first half of the night and starts to shorten as the night goes on, but there's more time spent in the next phase. So the final stage of sleep, stage 4, is known as REM sleep. REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement, and this stage lasts for about 10 to 60 minutes. This stage is believed to be essential for cognitive function, namely for memory and for creativity. This is often when our vivid dreams happen and there's an increase in our brain's activity. After this stage of REM sleep, we typically wake up for a very brief moment before the next cycle starts again. We'll often have about 3 to 5 of these cycles throughout any given night, which means there's going to be times where we briefly wake up for a moment, which is totally normal. We often don't even remember that the next morning. Even waking up briefly to maybe go to the toilet during the night is not going to affect your sleep, and there's nothing to worry about. However, what will affect your sleep is when you wake up and you start worrying about how tired you're going to be or how your sleep is going to be affected. If we're worrying that we're not going to get enough sleep or that our sleep's going to be affected, we start to put pressure on ourselves to try and control the situation. The problem with this is this can cause a heightened emotional state, which then leads to a fight or flight response. This stimulates the body to wake up, essentially working against you and keeping you awake for much longer. Now that we know that waking up during the night is completely normal, what shouldn't you do if you do find yourself awake during the night? First of all, we don't want to be looking at any stimulating screens, so TV, phone, tablet, computer, anything like that. One of the first things that most people do is when they can't sleep, they roll over and unlock their phone. We can then find ourselves scrolling social media, starting to read emails, and before we know it, we're fully awake again. So why is this not a good idea? Most people here will assume that the problem is the blue light, the light emitted from the screen itself. If that's the case, a yellow or orange filter on your phone or blue light blocking glasses would solve the problem, right? Unfortunately not. These light filters don't solve the main problem. Your mind is being stimulated. So in order to sleep, our brain and nervous system need to wind down. Keeping our mind active by watching TV or scrolling social media or reading emails is doing the the complete opposite for our environment that we need to sleep. So what can you do instead? If you do wake up during the night, try not to grab your phone. Instead, focus on some activities that feel relaxing or calming, like reading a book, even a Kindle, or even doing some light stretching. Any activity that feels mindless and relaxing can also do the trick. Listening to an audiobook, sleep meditation, or a sleep playlist can also be great ideas to encourage sleep and to relax your mind. The idea is that we want to relax our body, our mind, and our nervous system so that you get tired enough to sleep again. The next thing you don't want to be doing is trying to focus on things that you can't control. So some of the most common midnight anxieties are things like worrying about how tired you might be the next day, watching the clock and calculating how many hours of sleep you will or won't get, or focusing on how frustrated or annoyed you are that you woke up during the night. So why aren't these things helpful? Your mindset influences your sleep more than you think. In fact, many of our sleep problems stem from psychological factors rather than physical factors. The more you worry about having bad sleep, the worse your sleep will be. And this is simply because our thoughts influence the way we feel. So if we wake up during the night and entertain thoughts of worry and frustration, all that's doing is creating a stress response, which then further wakes us up. So if you want to get back to sleep, the goal is to calm the nervous system. Sleep can't be forced, so accepting the fact that this is going on is the first step. If you've only woken up for a brief moment, you now know that it's a completely normal part of the sleep cycle. Adding to this, when we're in the first stage of sleep, we aren't always consciously aware that we're actually sleeping. Sometimes you might be lying in bed, drifting into light sleep and not even realize it's happening. So waking up only becomes disruptive when we're lying there and we're starting to think negatively and ruminate on these thoughts of worry and frustration. When we try to force sleep, it tends to have the opposite effect. This is also why meditation and breathing exercises can also be a helpful solution. These exercises help us build the skill of mindfulness, which in turn helps us focus on the present moment rather than worrying about sleep. It's a skill in itself to be aware of your thoughts without needing to react to them. Another really effective technique for dealing with thoughts during the night is journaling, specifically doing what is called a thought download. This is where you keep a notepad or notebook next to your bed and write down all the thoughts that are currently swimming around in your head, getting them out onto paper. This simply just gets all the unhelpful stuff out of your head onto paper so that you can calm down and drift off to sleep again. Let's face it, you're not going to solve these problems at 2 a.m, so why even bother about it? You're much better off writing it down and focusing on it the next day when you're fully awake and you have your full attention. At the end of the day, remember, all humans sleep. You will fall asleep eventually, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Use some of the techniques I've shared with you today so you can distract and calm your mind so you can drift off to sleep much easier in the future. If you are struggling to get a handle on your sleep, that's actually one of the areas that we help our clients with. Sleep is a skill, which means it's something that we can all get better at doing. Good sleep can make a huge difference to how you show up each day, as well as how you function at work, at home, and also with your other healthy habits. Getting great sleep makes sticking to those habits that much easier. If you want to find out more information about how we might be able to help you, I'll leave a link in the description below this video. That's it for today. If you did like this video, you might also like this video here, which other people have found helpful too. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.